Hi, I'm Sarah from Neural Notes LoFi, and this is video 2 in a 4-part series of how I make my lo-fi music videos for YouTube. Now, I'm a small creator with a very small budget, so if that sounds like you, I'm hoping this is going to be helpful. In video 1, which I'll link to above and below, I showed you guys how to make the music in Soundtrap, and that's very budget. It's on a very cheap subscription plan that I use. For the video and for putting everything together, I'm in Canva, which is what you can see right now. I'm going to show you the pricing that I use. So I pay on a monthly subscription. I'm paying for Canva Pro for £13 a month. Now, I did start with a free Canva account, but I didn't stay free for very long because a lot of the premium graphics are important things that I use in my videos. So for me, it made sense to go up to Canva Pro for £13 a month. But if, like me, you're a small creator on a tight budget, start for free while you're playing with this and getting used to it and see if it's for you. But personally, paying for the subscription has really worked out for me. So what I'm going to show you today really just follows on from video 1. So the last thing we did in video 1 was we uploaded the music here on the left to the uploads that I'd made in Soundtrap, and then I just dropped the track onto the board here, and then when you click play, it's, the music and the background are there together. Now you'll see in the background we've got here that the cat's tail is moving. There's some coffee steam moving from the mug, and there's also some sparkling light going on in the city behind. Now, the reason I always have animated elements in my background, something I discovered by accident. I've noticed just from doing some research and looking at other people's lo-fi videos that if you have a completely static background, your phone might go to sleep, the screen will lock, and the music stops playing, and that's really annoying. So I decided there and then that I would always have some movement, some animation in the background so that people's phones aren't locking and going to sleep and then stopping them from watching my music videos and leaving the music running in the background, which is what we want, because the longer people are listening to our music, whether they're watching the screen or not, the better for our channel. So what I'm going to do in this video is show you making the background from scratch, or at least this is how I do it. Now, if I had the endless budget, I would love to be making everything 100% from scratch. I'd love to be drawing with a stylus on a tablet and drawing the whole thing, but I'm very much on a budget. I have a full-time job. I'm a student. I work in healthcare. There's no time and there's no money, and I'm on YouTube to really, boost my income a little bit, doing something creative that I love, but also paying for my university costs. So that's why I have a limited budget, and this is how I've been doing it. I start using Canva's AI tool to start off my background for me. And it's not the whole video by any means, because AI is limited. It doesn't do exactly what I want. And the more elements you try and put into an AI image, the more it's going to go wrong. For example, if I asked for a cafe that was filled with cats and coffee, you'd end up with like 100 coffee cups. Half of them would look deformed. Cats doing weird things. It just wouldn't look right. So my best tip for using AI is to keep it as simple as possible and just treat it as a background that you then build on. So over here on the left-hand pane, I've got my AI tool open, and it says describe what you'd like to create. So I'm going to keep it minimal so I don't confuse the AI. I always start off by asking for cartoon style because that's my aesthetic. And then let's ask for a woodland at sunrise. And then let's see what we get. Now, AI is always evolving, so you can never guarantee what sort of look you're going to get. So you might have to try it a few times. Okay, that's not too bad. So it's got lots of cute cartoon animals, which is not quite what I want. I will add animals, but I'm going to pick my own. So I will go for a fairly empty background. This is not too bad. Doesn't look too crazy. So I'm going to drop that onto my screen. I'm going to stretch it out to fit the video size template. That's okay, we can work with this. So I'm just going to start adding things really. So generally I start with some elements, and then if the element's not exactly what I want, I will use the built-in drawing tool to just customize it a little bit to make it fit the image I've got in my head. So let's start in elements. Let's have some ivy. We've got those big branches hanging up. Actually, I'm going to start with some more branches in the foreground. Looks to me, as we've stretched this image out, and I want the ground, because I'm going to put a cat sitting down there on the ground, we've lost the top of the trees. AI images always come out square, and then I've got to make them fit a wide video template. So I'm going to put some more tree branches from the graphics in the foreground, because the foreground looks a bit bare and I want to fill it up with greenery. So let's have some tree branches coming in from the side, just to start with. That style doesn't really fit with the cartoon style, so let's maybe have a couple more of the same one, and we'll just move them about a little bit to make them not look like a total carbon copy of each other. Okay, so I've got some tree branches. And then something I quite like to do when the trees look bare is to add some ivy hanging down from them. So I'm sure you can see what I'm doing in the top left. I'm just searching keywords like ivy and then picking things from the graphics that I like the look of. That looks quite good. I might shrink this very small and make this ivy grow down this tree here. And then I quite like the idea of some ivy hanging down from these branches I added. Now this one is animated. I like that because it gives us a bit of a wind movement. And remember what I said about we've got to have some animated elements. So I'm going to flip this around. I'm going to make this appear as if it's hanging from the tree branches. Quite like this one as well. I'm going to flip that horizontal so it curves the other way. I'm going to put this like that. Okay, I'm not going to make you watch everything that I'm doing because it will get boring for you. So I'm going to add a few more bits and then start recording again here, and you'll see the transformation. All right, so as you can see, I've built out the background a bit. I've added more elements, so more of the graphics that Canva Pro has to offer. So we've got more greenery, we've got some bluebells, and we've got one of my little signature cats here hiding behind a bush. So I just want to quickly show you a couple of tools that are quite relevant. So we're going to zoom in here. I'm going to drag the board down a bit so we can see more of the screen. And here we've got currently 25% view, which allows you to see the whole picture. We're going to zoom in 100% because I'm going to show you a couple of things that we can do to customize this and make it more our own. So one of the things I quite often do, well, actually, I want to shrink his tail a little bit. I'll deal with that in a minute. Just realized his tail's a bit big in proportion to his body. Let's see if we can get to his tail. So I'm going to just shrink this bush down for a minute because it's blocking my access to his tail. I'm going to highlight on the tail. I'm going to just make that a little bit more proportional to his body. Good. Now I'm going to put the bush back where it was because I like that he was hiding. That was cute. Okay, lovely. So we can add more things. We could add whiskers if we wanted. There are whiskers to choose from in elements. So let me show you that quickly. This is the one I typically use. When you land something on the board, it'll come out massive if you're in big zoom. So come out to 25%, find your whiskers, grab a corner to shrink them down a bit, leave them in the area you want to work, and then zoom back in again so that you can find them. Okay, so we're going to shrink them right down to his face size. and then try and pick them up and drag them. You'll barely see them because he's black on black here and he's hiding, but that was more to show you than to actually give the cat whiskers. He didn't really need them hiding behind his bush. The other tool I want to show you is the drawing tool, because this is how you can customize graphics. So I've got this plain black cat graphic here, but say I wanted to make him semi-long haired, a bit fluffier. I've done this in the past. Or maybe I wanted to add some white fur. We could do that. That would be a bit different. Let me show you. So you go into draw, pick the thickness of pen that you want. So I'm going to go skinny while I add some fluffy black hairs to him. I'm going to make the color black to match him. And then this is the width of the pen. So 4 looks pretty good. Let's just try it and see what we get. So I'm just using my mouse pad here. I'm just going to draw some spiky long hairs on him. He looks a bit like he's startled now and his fur is sticking up. If it ends up looking terrible like this does, you can just backspace it and try again. I might even try again with a skinnier pencil. Let's bring the weight down to 1 and see what it's like now. You can also zoom in on your screen beyond 100% so you can get a really good view. I'm not going to be too much of a perfectionist here. This is really just to show you rather than to make it perfect. All right, so we've made the hair on his back stand up because he's mildly irritated. Let's add some white fur to his throat. That will be cute. So if it's not available in document colors, we just go into the mixer and let's get some almost white. Okay, so we're going to do that. And then hopefully the pen has stayed the same thickness. Just put some white hair on him. What it might be advisable to do actually, so that we don't ruin the bush and ruin the look of this, is just drag the bush down a little bit further than we want it just while we're drawing. So let's go back into tools. Let's pick up our pen again. There's our white pen that we had before. Let's check he's still nice and skinny pen on number 1. Okay, so let's continue putting some long white hairs. And if you had access to a stylus and a pad, this would be a lot more neat and artistic. But as I mentioned at the start, I'm doing this on a budget. This is a 10-year-old MacBook with a slightly knackered mouse pad. But, you know, you get the idea. We could also make those, if you wanted to, we could make those semi-transparent so it wouldn't be as bold. So we could put some lighter grayer hairs further down on his chest. That's just to give you an idea. And honestly, once we put the bush back where it was, and then bring that bush to the front so it's covering him again, that white hair is going to blend in quite well and not like to look like it stands out too much. Again, this is not super perfect because it's just to show you how I do it, and I don't want to watch me mess around for hours, but that gives you the idea. So something that I do consider though, in terms of perfectionism, when I'm making these videos, most people are watching them on their phones or laptops, but a small percentage of my viewers do put them on their TVs. You know, when you link your YouTube up to your smart TV. So a few people are going to be looking at the videos like super close up in mega detail. So I don't want it to look a total mess. They might be seeing it this big, for example. So with that in mind, I try and make my videos as neat as I can. So far I've shown you building out the background. I've shown you customizing elements. I've shown you an animated, so these leaves, these pre-animated graphics that you can find. And that's helpful for adding movement. You remember at the beginning, we said we want there to always be movement on the screen so people's phones don't fall asleep. You don't end up with a locked screen and then your music getting turned off. So I'm going to add just one more thing to this to make it really animated. So there is movement. So we've got the flicky tail on the cat. We've got the moving leaves in the breeze. There's a different way that we can add movement to this as well, because sometimes the graphic that you want to be animated won't be. So here's what I do in that case. I want the sun to be glowing and I want it to move a little bit. I don't have like a glow in and out graphic available to me, so I'm going to pick a static glow graphic like this one. I'm going to place it over where the sun is on the background. I think I'll make it a bit bigger so the rays come out over the trees. I'm just going to centralize that a little bit. And then with this graphic highlighted, I'm going to go up to animate in the menu. And this is how we get the static graphics to be animated, basically. And the one I'm going to use all the way down is pulse, because that's the one that looks the most like the sun's rays pulsing. And there you can see it on the screen. So that's pretty much me done with that. That's my video background. I'm happy with that. So what we would do next is we would add our music. So we made the music in the last video, so you should already know if you've seen it. You go into your uploads, go to audio, and here you've got your music to add to your video. So these tracks you can see here are just over 5 minutes each. So we want to make, I generally make one screen per track because I just find it easier to keep track of. It's neater. So we're going to come back to the editor here. We're going to click on this and we're going to get this timer come up here. Now this is in seconds but never in minutes. So if I try and type 5 minutes in here, I'll get a much longer video because it will just convert to 500 seconds and it is a headache. So 5 minutes is 300 seconds. This video is a little bit longer. I always leave a bit of wiggle room to edit tracks together. So it's 5:20, it'll probably be about 5:15 before I overlap tracks and edit them. So I'm going to go 315 seconds to start with. I might play around with that a bit longer, but I've hit enter and now it's showing me 5 minutes and 15 seconds. So we've got this long, so far quiet video for 5 and 15. Let's come back to the beginning, put the cursor right at the beginning of the board, and then let's pick a track that we want to lay down on it. So I'm going to click that. You can also drag and drop, but in my ancient laptop that tends to go a bit wrong, so that's why I'm showing you this way. So now we've got the track laid up here. Let's just play it to make sure it's working. Okay, so we've got music. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to scroll to the end of this 5 minute track and we're going to make another version of this simply by duplicating the image for another 5 minute and 15 second video, and then we can add a second track to it and we can edit them together so that it's smooth. And that's really the process of how I make my videos. So I'm going to duplicate the page, and that's duplicating just the image, not the music that's already there. So it's just thinking about it. Here we go. So it's added it. Now because, let me drag this up so you can see, because this track is 5 minutes and 20 seconds, but we've made the image run for 5 minutes and 15 seconds, we've got this little bit of overlap here where we're going to edit the two tracks together and see if we can make them sound nice blending. So let's put the cursor in the middle. This is where we want the second track to come in. Let's select the second track. Now you've got them layered. So I'm going to play it through once, and let me just turn the volume up a tiny bit. I'm going to play it through once just to see if it clashes badly and how much I need to edit this, and then I'll show you how to do it. So here's my cursor back a little bit. Okay, so that's quite a clash. So what we want to do is soften the entrance of the second track while we also fade out the first one. So first of all, let's highlight the old track that we're fading out. So you see the colour's bright now. Up here we've got fade. We're going to fade it out and we're going to give it a 5 second fade out. Next, we're going to come down to the new track that's coming in. And we're going to highlight it. We're going to hit fade. We're going to fade this in. Let's give it a 3 second fade in. And then let's play it again and see if it sounds better. Do you know, it's better, but it's still clashing quite badly because this has quite a strong beat. So a couple of options. I can either make this video run a little bit longer so that there's less of the beat to fade out, or I can start fading this out sooner. Let's go for the simple option. Let's make this an 8-second fade out. Okay, that didn't work. Let's try again. 8. All right, and then let's give this a couple more seconds to fade in. If it was 3, let's go for 5. All right, let's try again and see how it sounds now. Okay, that's much more sensible transition. So that's basically how I make my videos. When I've finished doing this, mixing tracks together, I'm just going to go to the share button and I'm going to download it as a video file. Cool. And then one other thing I could show you, once your videos are downloaded, you want to be making a nice thumbnail for YouTube. I'm going to go into detail about how to do thumbnails, how to pick titles, file names, tags, all the important things that are going to make you get seen on YouTube in video 3. That's my next video, so stay tuned for that. And we'll go more into the details of really getting found and making an impact on YouTube so you can get your followers and start to get monetized. But just to finish this video off, I'll show you what I typically do to make a thumbnail. So I start with the background that I've already got, and you can do it in this video view. You can download a JPEG from it, so you don't need to make a new file. You're just going to literally treat this background as if it's static. You're going to pick an element. You want something behind your text, ideally, to make your text stand out. So let's go, I quite often go for a circle, kind of what I'm into at the moment. In the graphics, you've got some quite fun sort of jaggedy circles that don't look too, like, for example, that one's really pretty. That looks like the sun. I quite like this one. And I wonder if I can change this blue to match the blue of the bluebells. Picking out the detail. So in my document colors or my photo colors, no luck. Haven't got that bluebell color automatically. So we can try and make it. We can mix a bit of purple. Ooh, that's maybe too much purple. That's quite nice. Let's go with that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make my circle fill up quite a large space, because thumbnails, when you see them on your phone on YouTube, are quite small. So you want to make everything quite large and obvious. So I quite like to make mine a little bit transparent so you can still see the design behind it. That's quite nice. And then I'm going to go to text. And I'm going to take my words over here. And I'll explain more about how to pick the right title in video 3, the next video, where we talk about getting found on YouTube, what the algorithms and the search engines look for. But just for now, I'm going to call this LoFi for deep work. What happened there? LoFi for deep work. I'm going to make it quite large. Let's try 80 points. Stretch it out. Yeah, that looks good. I'm going to move that to the middle of my circle. And then for the bottom half, I'm going to write which tone is in the tracks. Make it small. I'm going to do something fun with this, actually. I'm going to curve this text around a bit. Let's make it a bit bigger. And I can show you how I curve the text as well, because you might have seen that in some of my thumbnails. So we've highlighted the text. We're going to Effects. We're going to scroll down to Curve, and then keep scrolling. We're going to change the direction of the curve. And if you make the circle on this text guide here, if you make it the same size as the circle behind it, it will fit quite nicely. It will look quite nice. So I'm going to move that down a little bit. Good. And I'm going to grab this text, and I've got room now to put this more centrally. Okay. And then we're going to click off, check that we're happy with it. Looks pretty good. Let me show you how to make that a thumbnail, not a video. We're going to go to download again, same as we did with the video, but importantly, we're going to change the file type from MP4 video to JPEG. Now, YouTube doesn't want massive files being uploaded, so I go for about the middle quality, about 50 something, that's fine. You don't need to download every page, because if you've got several pages, several tracks to your videos, you just don't need it. So I'm just going to go current page. You'll get this little exclamation mark warning, and that just means that it won't play as a video, but that's fine, that's what you want. And then we're going to download that. You'll quite often, if you're on Canva Pro, you'll see these, you're saving £9.90 on premium elements. What that means is in Canva free version, you can still get the fancy elements, you just have to pay extra for them. Whereas when you're on subscription, you then get everything for free. And then the final thing, let me just show you how the thumbnail is going to look. It's going to take a minute to open, sorry, just because my laptop is so old. There we go. So that is our final design. That's how our thumbnail is going to show up on YouTube. And if you come back next time to video 3, I will be showing you all about how to get your video on YouTube in an effective way that people are going to find it and your channel is going to grow. So that's all for now. Thank you very much for joining me. I hope it was helpful.